What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting all the way across the city from me this week and every week, he's the king of all VR kings, the Sofa King himself. It's Jeremy King.
Yeah, and I can't jibber jabber as quick as you can, but all the way over, I think in New York, right? It's all the way out in Long Island, maybe, who the fuck knows? Somewhere in New York is good old Aceville. Yay!
How's it going, guys?
Not too bad.
Man? So happy to have you here, dude. It's like,
yeah,
you're one of the loyalist Game Cats. You made it all the way out to the Game Cat meetup 2019.
19, yeah.
Right? You can't say that about too many cats. It was like maybe, 15, 20 total?
We had a good core, but it wasn't a lot of us, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I was just happy to see you again, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Awesome.
Yeah. I see you all the time, so. You know.
Probably sick of me. Well, listen, man, let's dive into it. What we do every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we dip into the PSVR archive, we pull out a game at random, we dust the blow off it, we put the crap out of it, see if it's getting any love by developers, any updates, any DLC, then we let you know out there, the loyal Game Cats. Yes, if it's worth your time. Aceville, what game do we decide to play this week?
This week, we are journeying into Killing Floor Incursion.
Hell yeah, Killing Floor Incursion by Tripwire Interactive, released May 1st, 2018 for, get this, $29.99. Then on February 11, 2019, it had a permanent price drop to $19.99. We're reviewing version 1.07 of the game. By now, all sorts of weird issues, some random crashing, some weird multiplayer bugs. All these things have been ironed out for the most part, and that's the game we're talking about today. Aceville, what kind of game is Killing Floor Incursion?
Killing Floor Incursion is a first-person shooter, a horror-themed first-person shooter.
You have my attention, sir.
Yeah.
Either of you guys ever played the older Killing Floor games, the non-VR games?
Oh, yeah. I played it back on PC with I mentioned my old Scottish buddy in the past that we used to play EQ2 together. And then we did Left 4 Dead. And then we did Killing Floor. Killing Floor was like the low-budget Left 4 Dead in a sense, back in the day on PC.
Right.
But I don't know when that came out. That was a long time ago.
I had never heard of Killing Floor at all. I didn't know of the previous titles until I played Incursion.
Yeah.
It was good, VR, so.
Yeah.
For sure. I heard of them, but they definitely seemed like low budget or very generic. Anytime anyone was ever talking about them, it always just seemed to be like, hey, you just kill a lot of stuff. Like, it doesn't seem to have like a lot of substance to it. So I didn't know what to expect going into this, to be honest with you.
Well, for me, I actually really enjoyed this title. The PSVR headset to me has like seasons, and this was like the beginning of season 2 of PSVR. We were right coming out of the drought days of the early days of PSVR, and this title landed. And I don't really play too many horror themed games, so it had me roped in from the beginning.
I actually did not play this one until more recently because I had played the old ones on PC, and they were so generic and basic and low budget that I honestly thought this was just a more of that, except in VR. So I kind of avoided it, and I wish I didn't. I was pleasantly surprised with it, actually. Yeah.
It's pleasantly surprised too, especially because of the horror aspect. You guys know. I mean, by now, if you don't know, then you know now. I love horror games, and in this, from the very beginning, has just like a really dark vibe. They set you out and you're on this kind of country path, and you're looking under a bridge, and you end up in a trailer park, and then a country house, and it all just reeks of like, supernatural, something crazy going on. I think of supernatural, I think like poltergeists and haunted houses and stuff, and it's not really that. It's more of a zombie game, right?
Absolutely. I've told myself to limit my comparisons to Arizona Sunshine, to as minimal as possible. But yeah, it has the same type of progression. You're going through different types of zombies, and that first stage is, it grabs you, pulls you right in. I played it twice. I played it, solo and co-op. And when I played it solo, it was, again, I'm not Mr. Horror. I'm easily unnerved. So creeping through the first part was pretty good, and the walkers come out. But then once you start getting up to that first house and you have to walk inside, it had like, calm down, Brian. It's not Resident Evil 7. It's not that intense. But it has that, I have to walk in here myself. And I think the scaling of it is so good that you feel like the walls, it has like a slightly claustrophobic feel. And by that point, you're just in that world. And, it just you're just there. It just holds you right in, like I said.
And definitely not the scariest game I've ever played, but I'm 100% with you. It is, and for me, when I started this back up, every time I've started this game back up, this is probably the fourth time I've played it. Every time I start this thing up, I just get blown away graphically. It's so beautiful, especially for like a dirty, dingy horror game. Like everything just looks so really well rendered and crisp and clear. Like they kind of nailed the immersion aspect in that regard. It was one of the best looking games when it came out, and now going back to it, I'm like, it's still one of the best looking games.
Still looks good. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Surprisingly too, because I mean, like when they start, you're out and you're in the woods. You know, how many times have we started a game out in the woods?
Not enough, Jeremy. Not enough.
You know? But like, it didn't wow me right then and there. And the trailers, you know, it reminded me of, I don't even recall what, but maybe one of the Saints and Sinners, possibly the trailer park there. Or what's the other Walking Dead one we just did? Was it Saints and Sinners? Onslaught. I think it had that kind of a vibe, the Onslaught with that trailer park area. Mm-hmm. But then after that, when you get into the house, Ace, like you were saying, that atmosphere, graphically, it started being a little more impressive. And then when you get to the next stage too, I was like, wow. I mean, like they did such a great job with the scenes and the scenery and changing things up. You know, it was never the stagnant same environment. It was new and new and new. And it always seemed to up the ante and get prettier every time. And I was wicked surprised.
There's a great pace the game has. It's not like this room, then that room, and it's like, whoa, how'd I get here? It pulls you right along. You walk through the caverns, through the caves, into the building. Then you're in the offices, and you don't really feel like it's just like these built scenes. You really feel like you're in this little world they constructed.
Yeah, and it makes sense. You know, the continuity from room to room to area. It's not like you were in a swamp. Now you're in a mansion. It's like, what the fuck? It makes a lot of sense.
They paced it out very well.
But it's not just the levels that are different. They somehow this game keeps things interesting for a game that just throws waves and waves and waves of, they call them Zeds, between walkers and Zeds and Freds and zombies. It's just like, oh my, I can't keep them straight. I'll probably call them zombies for the rest of the time, but the game does call them Zeds. It seems very wave shootery after a while. It's just like, you're like, man, I'm just killing another wave. And they just keep coming. But somehow the levels remain fresh, despite that being the one thing that you're doing more than anything else. And I love that, man. It's like in the very first level, you get to the farmhouse, you have to collect all the pieces, right? And then what was it, the office building? They had you basically memorizing puzzle patterns so you could input them into a computer later on. Right. And then on top of it, they're like, oh, and by the way, now we're going to introduce sniper rifles. You're like, all right. And it was like became like a tower defense game for a few minutes there.
Which, you know, it's so funny too, because when Ace and I played, we did co-op and we couldn't get the speech to work, so we were doing a lot of hand gestures. You know, which is great because Ace was like showing me, like I kept being like chink chink to reload, and he's like holding up his hand and he's like pressing, and it shows it reload, and I'm like on my end, I'm like, wait a minute, I pressed the button and can auto reload. But then when you and I played, I couldn't get that to work, Brian. I every time I did it, it wouldn't work. I don't know why. It was just So I needed Ace's good luck because that worked. But
it's like same thing with the shotgun. They instruct you to pump it yourself, but really, if that's too much trouble, you can always default to the button and be able to just automatically reload it. So that saved me in the sniper levels, because just fidgeting and thumping, like, all right, let me just hit the button and line them back up. So stick that down. You know, it helps that scene out a lot.
I know a lot of people have problems with the sniper rifles. I keep hearing it over and over. I know that when Jeremy and I were playing, he was having issues with the Den, and I was like, and I was scared because the first time I'd played it, I was like, oh no, I hated these things. It never seemed to work right. But then I kind of remembered being like, eventually I got the hang of it. I was like, oh, am I gonna have to like relearn this all over again? And I didn't, man. I picked that thing up and I fired off my first shot. I took down a Zed, and then I was like, and there I am back looking through the sniper rifle. And I gotta say, so many games just put you into a 2D field of view. Like even Hitman just did that recently. You're like looking down the scope, and it suddenly just goes to a 2D plane. And I get why they have to do that sometimes, but this game lets you look through the scope, and it looks great.
Borderlands 2 had that issue where they would pull up a separate screen, but it was like a flat thing you were looking at. But it's such an early title, and they kind of nailed that. Like, kind of nailed that out the gate. I was kind of surprised by that.
Because it's so neat, you know, seeing it through the scope and bring it up to your eye, you know.
Absolutely.
So now that we talked about sniper rifles, what other weapons did you guys enjoy using?
Oh, I'm an axe man. Got to have that
Yeah.
axe over my left shoulder. My combo was the axe and a handgun,
Nice.
and that was just covering almost everything for me. I had to have that axe over my left shoulder person.
Yeah, I'm with Ace. That thing was just like broken. It is so brutal. It's like a game changer, But like when I need to be quick and on the move, I would have the knife in one hand and a handgun in the other. So I'd be like, bah, 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 phew, phew, as I
Right,
reload it.
right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was me with the axe. You actually feel it. So many games have a tough time getting the weight of something right, but you actually feel like you're holding this thing. And
yeah,
with the dismemberment that they had in the game, you can take limbs off and heads off, and you actually can, precisely feel that when you do it.
it's weird, right?
Really substantial. Yeah,
Yeah,
my favorite weapon.
it's almost like you could feel when you hit him, it goes slow motion, doof,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
the
you see
slow
him like,
motion helps. Hmm.
and you're like,
Absolutely.
yes. Yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Makes it a really gruesome game when it does that too. You really get to like get a good look at the limbs you're chopping off or the head that you just decapitated, and then you can grab those limbs, right? Grab them straight
Right.
out of the air, man, and just like start whacking other
Yeah.
other Zeds with them. I think this
Well, I
game
thought
is
it was
just
great.
disgusting, but
Ace
pretty
and I
awesome.
were in the office building, and I turn to Ace, and he's got the severed hand with the big,
Yeah.
huge blade in it, and he's
Absolutely.
killing people with that. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it feels great. I don't know how they did that so early in the PSVR's life cycle. They feel the weight of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they work some magic for sure. One
Absolutely.
one of the things I hated about this game initially was the multiplayer because the multiplayer didn't work right. The second player always seemed to have like frame rate issues, and then like, they were forced to use click turning for some reason, like this weird glitch that they did end up fixing. And when Jeremy and I jumped in and played, I had forgotten this, but your characters, when you look at each other, look like kind of like grown up Rec Room characters. Like they've got the floaty
Yeah.
head and like the floating
Yeah.
torso, but they're actually like rendered to make it look kind of serious and stuff. But it does look
Yeah.
like an outfit you could buy in Rec Room.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is true, but it feels good the way they have the weapons on the belt around you. This is like one of the first games that kind of nailed that about having all your weapons on your vest. And
Mhm.
it's a little clumsy at first, but once you get the rhythm of it, you can
Yeah.
really just like pull the handgun out, and in horde mode that helps a lot when you're running with your friend. And another thing, the single player and the co-op feel very different. 'Cause when you're single player, you have that ambiance. I'm here alone and I'm going through this. But when you're co-op, you're having a ball. You're just having fun, taking
Yeah.
limbs off and showing them to your friend and stuff. And they I don't know. It's very clean, very clean.
Yeah.
Do you have a
And
preference?
you would,
Do you guys have a preference on if you like single player or multiplayer better?
I,
Ace?
I'm a single player person like through and through. I'm a single player guy, so yeah, I have to lean that way. But the co-op is fun, especially if you're in there with the right people.
Yeah.
I'm like Ace. I'm always a solo player. I just sit there. I'm like, oh, and I play because I don't want it to like watch somebody's back and run and heal them and doing all this shit. But I got to say that this game was really fun doing it 2 players in co-op because like you had my back, I had yours with just like taking out waves of zombies this way. Like Ace, you and I had one point where there were things coming off and I was just batting them and you were shooting them before they fell off. So we were like clearing up and that's kind of what I dug where I got to play 2 styles. Like you and I, Brian, had the communication. So we were talking and doing things. Ace, you and I didn't have that. So we were using hand
Right, so we're
gestures.
miming, right?
Yeah. So it's enjoyable in many different ways. And I loved how we were able to work and figure it out without using communication to do so. And then Brian, you and I would just like, all right, I'm going to get this. I'm going to do that and just doing it. So I had a lot of fun with this one, though, co-op, I got to say. I don't know if I enjoy it single player better. I think I enjoyed the co-op more.
The single player experience I think was great. It's because it sets the mood in single player. It doesn't feel that scary when you're walking around and like shooting the shit with your friends. That doesn't.
Right.
That's not nearly as scary. But when you're by yourself and you get the headphones on, the headset on, and you're just like, don't know what to expect. I feel like most people probably jumped in and played the multiplayer like I did after they already played the single player. So maybe that was why it was less impactful, like why the stuff that was happening. But man, it's so good to have the option. Like this game makes me want to have the option to play almost every other game multiplayer. I was like, I don't want to do that the first time through, but maybe the second time through, grab a friend and let's go kill some zombies.
That's
Yeah.
what I always do. That's what I did with squadrons. That's my modus operandi. I go single player first, get a feel. 'Cause I
Yeah.
don't like when I think about multiplayer. Is I hate letting my team down. I hate letting people
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, me
I
too.
take it so hard,
Yeah.
I'm
So I
so
like to
sorry, everybody.
I'm the
right,
shitty one.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I like to build my skills up and stuff in single player, and then transfer it over and make it look like I'm a natural.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, this is my first time, guys. To
So
show me
man,
the ropes, man.
what can I say? What can I say?
Right.
Yeah.
So we've said a lot of good things about this. Is there anything we didn't like about Killing Floor Incursion?
Off top, it's most of the elements, as opposed to the setting, is kind of repetitive. The enemies become repetitive, and the just the general danger becomes kind of repetitive. You get used to it, and then once you get to like halfway through, you're like, I got this, and let's just go to the next one. Now, it doesn't lose any fun because of it, so that doesn't bother you when you're in it. But when you're talking about it, you're like, yeah, they could, I would have liked some more character models, more animations from the enemies, more of a threat in the second half of the game.
Yeah.
A little repetitive sets in as you're playing.
I agree totally with the setting. Like definitely rinse and repeat. But I had some glitching. It happened several times. Ace, I don't even know if you were aware of it, but a lot of times when we would complete an area and then we could progress, like maybe that hologram with the gas
Right.
mask talked to you and then went away.
Mhm.
I would progress. I'd start to walk, and as I would walk further and further away, everything would get dim and dim and dim. Then all of a sudden, I was back at the area that it started us at, and you would be way ahead, and then I would just keep walking. That happened 3 different times, almost
I
like
was wondering how you were so fast. I'm like, how did you get over there?
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
And then also the other weird thing I didn't like is even though everything was there for you to grab, your flashlight, your guns, your weapons on the back and everything, I oftentimes found it difficult to holster my weapon, grab my weapon, especially in the heat of the moment, because there was
Right.
something they designed where when you look down, everything slightly shifted a teeny bit. It was kind of an awkward thing. So when you look down to go put your hand to grab your gun or put it back in the holster, it would shift a teeny bit. So you couldn't quickly just throw it down. You had to quickly do it. It shifted, then put it down and make sure that glows white. And you had to be pretty much in contact of your holster for it to actually be put back instead of you just being bang and shooting
Right.
yourself in the fucking foot. So when I was running, doing like the holdout mode, good thing I wrote that word down,
Nice.
doing the holdout mode down, a lot of times I wanted to holster a weapon so I could run and grab ammo, but I had to like stop, look down, make sure I holstered it correctly. And other
Right.
times I'd actually grab my flashlight on accident. So it was a little wonky in the belts and storing weapon type of thing. For some reason, the back was perfectly accurate. I went there and I grabbed the knife. I went here and I grabbed the fucking axe. But yeah, just little glitches, I would say. The little glitches and, load issues. Like Brian and I had a big crash when we finished that area yesterday.
Yeah, after we finished the Paris level, the cutscene never ended. Basically, it faded out like it was going to, and then we were stuck in the cutscene, but we could walk around and we could run around in it. We're like, is this going to happen every single time someone finishes the Paris level? Now, I looked it up online, and there were certainly reports of people saying, that they finished it single player, finished it co-op, and it happened, and they couldn't progress anymore. And I was like, wow, it was fairly recent, so hopefully developers are still looking into that if it's a consistent problem for people.
And it didn't save progress because I went and jumped back in, and I was right at the beginning of the Paris on the top with the radio.
Seriously?
Yeah, so I was like, fuck this. I'm not
Yeah.
doing this again. The
Yeah.
sniper rifles were, out of everything in that game, the sniper rifles were like, it's like chugging vinegar to me. It was like, okay.
It's so
That
much
was
fun
funny.
with the sniper rifles.
Yeah.
I could see Jeremy like through the wall, like his outline, and I could just see him struggling, just having a hard time. So I walked over there. That's when we started miming.
Yeah.
Thing. But yeah, that was a lot of people ran into that problem. When I played co-op, I had some late game glitches where I just got stuck at the bottom. No spoilers, and I couldn't get back up, and it just kind of fell apart from there. So there were a couple hitchy parts, but it doesn't seem to be like one. It seems to float around. It doesn't seem like this is guaranteed to be a glitch. They just seem to be in there, and you never know when you're going to encounter.
Hey, so before we get to the rating on this game, what are your thoughts on the holdout mode?
Again, I'm not much of a co-op, person, but it was fun. Fun is the word. It didn't feel like a chore at all. that's the thing about both modes is even when you get tired of the type of enemies, they throw so many at you that you're never just kind of just mindlessly like you're still on your toes, even though you know exactly what's coming.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it a lot, and I think if I played it more, I would enjoy it even more. It's just I haven't had much experience with it.
They did a good job too with this game where you could see the enemy and know the power behind the enemy, what they were capable of. Do you know what I mean? Like they had the standard ones that you like headshot, they're done, or just simple, just fodder. And then they got the other ones that were a little more aggressive that you like bang, 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 before you take them out. Then the other ones that fucking are like the spidery dog things on the ground. You know what I mean? Like they did a really good job of you learning how they attack without it's basically like throwing up like other games that would list the enemies and how they attack.
Right.
This one just visually you knew coming at you how to take it down.
And,
so
and
I
even
like
when you got used to taking down a certain type of enemy, the easy ones made it more complicated because you still had to deal with them. So even though you could mow through them, it's like, okay, just get out of my face, but you had to deal with them. And the crawlers and everything, like you were always on your toes. So the holdout mode was good for that. Also, just keeping your head on the swivel,
keep moving.
Letting your partner know there's ammo over here. You really gotta get engaged, especially for people like myself who don't go too hardcore into the firewall community.
Mm-hmm.
When we want like a nice small bite of something, but it still gets a little intense. It has a great balance.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, I think it's time that we rate this sucker. Jeremy, what is our rating scale?
1, you need this game. You got to get it right now. Don't even finish. Just end the video and fucking buy it. 2, wait till we finish the video and then maybe wait for a sale and then buy it. Just save some money. And then 3, just watch the video. Don't bother looking for a sale because you're not going to fucking buy this game because it sucks. 1, 2, or 3, Brian.
No, not me. We got to let Ace go first.
Aceville, my friend, what do you rate this sucker?
I have no experience in rating games. For me, this is a 1, but mostly because of when I played it. At the time, there was a lot of space between titles. It was refreshing. It was perfect. Now things are so competitive, and you got people go. There's such a broad window of people to, just to be able to play so many different titles. So I think I'm going to go with a strong 2. It's a strong 2 to me. Depending on who you are and what you're looking for, it's easy to kind of ignore the things this game does well, and it will surprise you when you're like, wow, that looked really good. When you get that blood spatter or something, like, wow, that looked great. But as of right now, I have to go with a strong 2. Keep your eye on it. Look out for a sale.
Yeah,
Nice.
If you're taking Aceville's recommendation, keep in mind that until the 4th, I believe, or maybe the end of the 3rd on March, $8 here in North America. This game is on sale for very, very little. I mean,
For 1.
What's that?
Then that's a 1.
then it's a 1 right now for the next week and a half. It's a 1.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna go a step further than that. I gotta tell you guys a few things that I didn't want to bring down the conversation with during the show, and that's that I don't like that there's only 4 levels. I feel like I look back at this and they do, even though they do kind of lead into each other, they feel compartmentalized in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, the office building, the creepy farmhouse, the biotech lab at the end. It's just they feel so kind of like separate, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to at least double the amount of levels. I just want more. And I guess, for any good game, you want to say that. But for this, I feel like I could have just used at least 1 or 2 more to make me feel really good about my rating here. And I also want to say, one of the things I hate about VR games is when you're just forced to stand in one place and watch someone talk to you. And they do that with the cutscenes between every single level, and it's so irritating. And then just to compound that problem, you also have my other least favorite thing about VR games, and that's, for some reason, every VR game for the first 3 years of VR decided that you needed a robot companion or a companion that's talking in your ear the whole time.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
Right.
And this has that. And so especially if you're playing in co-op, and you want to ignore this thing and just have a fun time, I wish you could just turn it off, man. Maybe for single player it's fine, but for 2-player, you're just having fun with your friend, you're shooting Zeds, and then this thing comes along and it's let me tell you about my niece, and you're like, fuck your niece, I'm trying to shoot things, just go away, And so I hate both of those things about this game. Yeah, I'm still giving it a 1 because I think everything else was so flawless. And I think that the price, they were so smart to take the price from 30 down to 20. The $20 is a no-brainer for this. The $8 price tag on sale is like ridiculously cheap.
Oh my God.
But $20 even at its full retail price now is such a good deal. It's beautiful, it's fun, it's there's a little goofiness to it. Like the game doesn't take itself too seriously. And I just had a blast, man. And I'm so glad that we did this week because I'd sort of forgotten how good it was. And so for me, it's a really solid one.
A lot of what you guys are saying, completely. Like Brian, with not only does it give you that floaty robot, but the floaty robot just simply then projects the other thing, which is that voice in your head, like Otacon or whatever, and giving you the instructions. And so the thing where I found with this game is doing co-op, or even single player. There was a story there, but it was presented via her telling us through a floating robot's head, that resembles a VR headset thing. So the story was there, but I wasn't really aware of it. I knew basically something, clones, the doctor was what?
Virus, right.
Yeah, it was just something going on, and I wasn't too familiar with what was happening because the story wasn't in your face enough. It wasn't like the reason to play the game. It seems like they knew that the story was here graphically, and whatever they had going and the hordes of things coming at you was the real gem. But I do wish they turned the volume up on the story, so to speak, and somehow presented it differently than through a projection from a floating robot head, because it lost me. I didn't like Brian. It was like, you wanted to talk and chat in between. And this thing's like, no, Emma, I wanted to tell you stories. So
and
I feel
even the big guy in the sky, when you first meet him, you're like, oh, what's this?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of like, okay, so the story is, you're not coming for the story.
No, you're definitely coming for the zombies, if you will, or the Zeds. But that being said, the weapons, they varied enough. They weren't overwhelming with too many weapons because I find like Borderlands, there's so many weapons that it becomes just background in a sense where it's supposed to be, gazillions of guns. But this game gave just enough so that I knew when I saw that axe, I wanted it. Or with that machine gun, it's like, I'm going to give that a round, that kind of a thing. But there was a lot of glitches. There was a lot of bugs to the game, a lot of things that didn't work correctly. But like Ace, like you were saying, you could forgive that stuff because of the fun you had. And I thought graphically, this game was like very impressive. I was not expecting it at all to look this good. So, I mean, it is one of the better looking games on VR, and it came out a few years ago. And I mean, I had fun. I had fun playing with both you guys, with chat, without chat, on my own. Even the holdout mode, I'm not a huge fan of that type of stuff, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time. So
I'm glad to hear this. Playing with Jeremy, I saw him struggling with the sniper rifle, and we couldn't communicate. So I was like, "Oh, is he liking it? Is he not liking it? I'm not sure."
Oh yeah,
we could communicate, and I still didn't know if he liked it. I was like, "Oh my God."
Right.
So wait. So how much did you like it? We need a rating here.
I liked it. I thought this was a solid 2, without a doubt, an absolute solid 2. And like Ace, what you're saying, like at $8, I mean, if this was $9.99, I would say a 1. But for 20, it's a 2. You know what I mean? It's a solid 2. You'll have a good time because yes, there could be more. I feel like ripping through this co-op, you can dish this game out in under 2 hours, beginning to end, and probably put some, holdout in it, but single player, I think, would be a little longer and a little bit more worth the money. But
wow,
I think it's a solid 2. I had a good time.
2 hours? You're insane. I would say if you're going to play some
3.
holdout, I'm talking like almost 4 hours.
Really?
I think so.
Ace,
I could be wrong.
We did up until almost the last Paris, which is what, third out of 4 or 5?
Close, yeah.
And that was what were we doing? Like 2.5?
Close to 2. Yeah. We were kind of flying through. He had no trouble. Jeremy is savant.
Right? He hides it well, man. But like he might be the best gamer we know.
Oh, yeah, not quite.
Where's AJ?
You can get up on the cat pedestal, man. I just put you there.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, listen, guys, this was a lot of fun. I love the idea of having different cats out there join us every single week, and the second we finished the Betty episode last week with Swordsman, Jeremy was like, "Where's Aceville?" And I was like, "Let's contact Aceville, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun."
Yeah.
Thank
you.
We all love the Sofa King, Thank you.
No, thank you. I had a blast. I had a good time. And we are going to do it again.
Nice. We're all funded up. We're ready to go.
That's right. All right, guys, for another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR, that's Aceville. Oh, God, I hope I'm pointing to the right side. That's Jeremy. Maybe this way. Some people go both ways. I'm Brian Paul, and we'll see you next week.